welcome to Round Robin. I'm your host, Robin McCormick with the City of Hampton. And today we are going to step outside the boundaries of Hampton for just a few minutes and talk about an institution in Newport News, but with very strong regional emphasis and, of course, national emphasis, because what we're talking about is Fort Eustis. It is celebrating its 100th anniversary. My guests are Colonel Bo Clayton and Donna Fontes. Welcome.
Very nice to be here. Thank you for having us.
This is, it's fun to look just a little bit outside of our borders, but there's a lot of ties between Fort Eustis, which is based in kind of in the northern part of Newport News, and Hampton through Langley Air Force Base, Joint Base, and through our treasured Fort Monroe and some of the missions that used to be done there.
Well, yes, and thank you for having us here today. We're pleased to be celebrating our 100th. Began in 1918, and we think we're a big part of the Hampton Roads community, and we've had quite a few events that have celebrated the 100th, and we're looking forward to some more.
Well, I think, you know, Fort Eustis has evolved quite a bit in its 100 years, as of course, you know, the military has.
Right.
You don't use cannons anymore and things like that. Actually, you were probably a little bit after that, after those heavy guns, but very tied into this region and the defense of this region, which has been key. So tell me how Fort Eustis started and what your original mission was.
So Fort Eustis started as the purchase of the Mulberry Island in 1918. It occurred very quickly as part of the preparation, as part of World War I preparations. World War I ended very, very soon after, but it continued as an artillery location where they fired coastal artillery primarily, and they also did aerial observation. It has, as you mentioned, morphed over the years.
Well, now aerial observation then was
balloons.
That's
by
what
balloons.
I was going to
That's
say.
Right.
That was quite a different era.
It was. It did begin to morph towards right after World War II. They decided to form the Transportation Corps, which has rail, vehicles, and all types of transportation stuff now. And it became the home of transportation in 1947 all the way until about 2010.
And really, that is, and by that I'm going to say all of Hampton Roads, but particularly where you sit is this unique place where you have the coast, you have a port. I mean, you have all the water stuff, you have rail, you've got the beginnings of air, and then, you know, the Army Air Corps, Langley growing up nearby. And so all these institutions, I mean, you guys have a lot, for the Army, a lot of boats, ships, watercraft, really.
We do. We call it the Army's Navy. So that's what we have. And one of the unique things about Fort Eustis is, of course, we have a port there on the James River. As part of that, that entity called the 7th Transportation Brigade is very, very much deployed across the world and provides those assets, landing craft, et cetera. We also have aviation capabilities from research and development with rotary wing aviation to actual training of our brand new soldiers on how to be helicopter mechanics. So we're excited about that. And then another thing is you mentioned the tie-in with Fort Monroe. In 2010, the Training and Doctrine Command, one of the Army's 3 4-star commands, moved from Fort Monroe to Fort Eustis. And TRADOC, as it's known, is responsible for the recruiting and the building and the training of everyone in the Army. So
such an important post, and really, you know, outside of the Pentagon, one of the real planning, nerve, brain centers of the Army. So we're glad that we're able to stay in the region, if not quite in Hampton. Very close.
Well, we're excited about you know, what Fort Eustis has become, and that's one of the things that we want to, that's why we've been celebrating our 100th, which is also very exciting, and really trying to make sure that the community, the surrounding Hampton Roads community, knows what we do at Fort Eustis as part of the Joint Base Langley Eustis system. Back in 2005, Congress decided to do some joint bases. Langley and Eustis were designated as that, and in 2010, we became a joint base as part of that.
And okay, what does that mean? I mean, your missions and your commands are still very separate, but you share some infrastructure, some.
We do. We share what we call command and control. Those that look over both sides of that now one installation there. Although 17 miles apart, it is what we call a joint base. The installation commander is out of the 633rd Air Base Wing that runs both sides, and I run the Fort Eustis side as part of that.
Okay, so today's mission for Fort Eustis, what commands, what units do you have there, and what are their key functions, in addition to TRADOC?
Well, in addition to TRADOC, like I said, we have the 128th Aviation, which trains brand new soldiers that come out of basic training. They then go into their advanced individual training, where they actually learn how to work on everything on a helicopter. And different.
Yeah, that's not training you get in the civilian world very easily, is it?
And it's quite impressive to see our brand new soldiers come in and learn all aspects of from the wheels through the electronics, through the avionics, to all the way up to the blades themselves, the skin of the aircraft. Everything that they can learn to do, and they do for units across the entire Army. We also are able to train international students as well, and we have Air Force students that come in as well.
So you're sort of the Army's Air Force too. The Army's Navy, the Army's Air Force. You've got everything there, really.
Yeah, we have quite a bit of capability and some research and development with that as well. So a lot of things going on. And of course, we have our ties back to the Transportation Corps. And that's why we also still have the Transportation Corps Museum, which is a wonderful place.
That is a really cool place. I have not been in years, but it is a wonderful place to visit. And
Right.
You can get on, I mean, I know that it's not always easy to get on base now, but you can get on base to see that if you're a civilian?
You sure can. It houses all the trucks and every type of mode of transportation, from the wagon all the way up through our rail, which we still do on Fort Eustis. We do rail training for locomotives, but it also houses all of that. And what you can do to come on post, you go through the Fort Eustis Boulevard gate,
okay.
And all you have to do is pull over to the side and you take your driver's license, just check your vehicle out, and come on the post.
I think people forget about that sometimes, because we used to have some pretty open bases. Certainly Fort Monroe was always a very open base. As things tighten down, those of us who don't have those military ties, military IDs, forget that we can still do that. And it's a beautiful place.
Yeah, and that's, we always want to connect with our local population. Too many times people don't know what goes on post, on the installation itself. And that's why I think we have some upcoming events that will help everyone come on there for that.
Okay, well, first of all, we're just going to finish. So your mission right now, what do you think, where will the impact of Fort Eustis be? What are the key things that you do besides training, international missions? Is it relief sometimes? Is it, all defense? I mean, what kinds of things are your specialties?
Well, again, the Training and Doctrine Command, major part of the Army that reaches across the entire country
and really
and the
thinking
Army.
about how we will fight in the future.
That's
and
exactly right.
What we
Developing
will need.
future concepts is part of that too. The aviation training, the aviation research and develop, and then the transportation aspects with our boats and everything. But we also have responded to contingency operations like hurricane relief in Puerto Rico.
That's what I
and some
thought.
other
Okay.
things. That's right.
And I think that's because you have those multimodal capabilities to get into ports that aren't in great shape and to unload supplies, and some engineering experience and capabilities that you all bring to the table as well.
Yeah, the 597th Rapid Port Opening, they go in, and that's exactly what they do. They open a port to receive others to come in and provide, whether it's contingency operations or whether it's relief.
Okay. Well, wonderful. And thank you all for all that you do there.
Absolutely.
And, keeping the TRADOC band local, because that was very important important to many of us in this area. It's superfluous to your main mission, but it does relate to how the people in the area feel that connection, feel that pride with the interesting things that go on in the military that aren't related to defense, that are
Right.
a little more about quality of life. So there's so many ways in which Fort Eustis and the military bases here tie into our everyday life. Well, thank you for coming and sharing that.
Absolutely.
And thank you for watching. I hope you understand a little bit more about the history of this very important Army base and all of the many capabilities it has and the contributions to our life, to our safety, to the mission here. Thanks for watching.